So as the portal has dragged on or just gone and gotten bigger and bigger, players getting more and more money, I feel like we're getting more information about how much each program is spending and what they are really doing financially to put together these rosters. And obviously, Kentucky made a really big splash with the Denzel Aberdeen poaching, as I'm calling it. They basically snatched him up. I don't think they tampered him away from Florida. I think some other teams did. But then I think it became, hey, who's the highest bidder here? And I think Mark Pope let his big blue nutsack hang on the table, BBN, right? That's what he did. He brought his wallet out and said, guess what? I'm going to give you $2 million for a guy who was on your bench and averaged 7 points last year. Anybody want to beat that? And nobody could beat that. It is yet another data point on the fact that Kentucky has spent a lot of money on this roster. To that point, we're starting to hear some numbers on this. And Goodman Hoops, Jeff Goodman, shout to him, hypothesized yesterday on the Field of 68 that he doesn't think anyone is going to touch Kentucky's NIL payroll this year, dot, 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 not even BYU. BYU has long been presumed to be the biggest spending program with what Kevin Young has done with his access to NBA money and some big time donors over there. But based on how they've built these rosters, I think it's a fair question. Who has spent more money, Kentucky or BYU? I will just add to this the current projected number for Kentucky's roster for next season is reportedly $12 million. The expectation is they have built a roster that is worth $12 million. What do you make of this? Does this all feel right to you right now?
So I do believe Kentucky spent more on their roster than BYU. I think a large reasoning of that is that the players are committing to Kentucky. I think BYU's offered way more, and players just aren't going to BYU as much. Like they got Rob Wright and they got DeBanza. Those two are presumably combining to make nearly $10 million. So I think if they were to get some of the other guys that they're in on, um, that they would spend more than Kentucky, but they're not getting those guys. So I do believe Kentucky's roster is more. I think 12 million, like what's preventing Kentucky from spending 12 to 15 million dollars on their basketball roster each year? I just did a quick Google search. Kentucky's athletic department made $174 million in revenue last year. That's I mean, the bulk of that is coming from football and basketball, right? Like that's what they always say. Over 50% of an athletic department's revenue is coming from two sports. That's why they're trying to come up with ways to spread the money around. I mean, twelve million is a shell of that. So I see no reason why they can't continue to do this. For what it's worth, football team, like, who's the coach of it? Is it Mark Stoops still?
Yes.
He needs to be furious. You're making 174 million, $12 million on the basketball roster, and I'm trotting out Carson Beck's backup as my quarterback or whatever. Like he needs to be sick. But I see no reason why they can't continue to do this. To be completely honest, I feel like if Kentucky like loses 1 or 2 more years, they might double their roster spending.
It could happen, right? Like it seems like I don't know, just a sign of the times and also a sign of where Kentucky is headed under Mark Pope. I wouldn't be surprised by that either. I like your point about like it's Kentucky has landed their guys. I mean, let's just look at where both these programs are at right now. Kentucky is telling people after landing Denzel Aberdeen, they're done. That's the story, right? We got Aberdeen, we're done. We're out of the Baker Mazara thing. We're out of the Stojakovic thing. Everybody that we were targeting, Rylan Griffin was going to visit this week. We're done. Our roster's good. So when you have a roster that is finalized, presumably that's your final number. It's not going up, right? And it was Goodman who reported this on his Field of 68 show. Go watch it. It was really good. But they spent upwards of $12 million. This roster is complete. BYU's roster is not complete. BYU's roster has Rob Wright, who they spent at least $3 million on. AJ DeBanza, who they spent at least $4 million on, if not more. The number we heard last fall was $7 million. Presumably, they're going to have to pay for Richie Saunders to return. Presumably, they're going to have to pay for Kebakeda to return. They're trying to get Darion Williams. Let me tell you right now, if they get Darion Williams, that's going to be at least a $4 million paycheck. So You just add that up. Devanza, say they do get Darion Williams, say they get Rob Wright. That's $11 million to three players. Do I think everyone else on the BYU roster is going to be under $1 million and they're going to fall under Kentucky? I don't think so. But what I will say is this: it's a big sign and a positive sign for Kentucky that Mark Pope is spending in a big way this year. Because last year, look, NIL was still evolving, and I think Kentucky had this big adjustment period from going from Cal, who was paying everybody, every 18-year-old he could find, to Mark Pope, who like wanted to build a more sustainable program. And in year one, I don't feel that Pope necessarily spent a crazy amount of money building that roster. He was kind of like, let me bring Jackson Robinson with me. We're going to get the right role guys here. We're going to build a really old team. Certainly, they spent money, but they weren't like flashing their wallet left and right. This offseason, Mark Pope has. And I think you have to do that if you're the head coach at Kentucky. So if I were a Kentucky fan, given how this offseason has went, it would make me more confident in Mark Pope consistently doing this year after year after year to be the highest spending program in the sport.
Oh yeah, I mean Mark Pope is combining like his ability to sell players on wanting to play for him, the culture that he provides, and just the passion he genuinely has for this sport, and to be quite frank, like the university as well, with the deepest bags in the sport at the moment. It's kind of like it's a quicker version of what Pate did at Purdue. Hey, you can come be a part of this Purdue culture, the development, the 4 year plan. You can come in as a 3 star, leave as the seventh pick or the ninth pick in the draft, whatever Zach Edey was. Or you could be a relative unknown in Braden Smith to, maybe the greatest point guard in the history of the game. With like, we also have $5 million for you. And when you combine those two things, right? The teams that are only offering you money can't keep up with that, right? Like you can't compare what Mark Pope brings to Kentucky, what Pate brings to Purdue, to Pikel's bags at Rutgers. It's different. It's levels. Like one is a clear cash grab, the other is cash on top of culture, right? And I think that's what Mark Pope's developing a little bit here. The only thing I'd say in terms of like who's spending more money, I did a quick Google search. I can check it, but wasn't BYU in on Aberdeen too?
I heard rumor of that. I couldn't really verify. That felt like it moved so quick that it was just done.
It just feels like BYU, when it's said and done, will spend more money than Kentucky. They just haven't gotten anybody, and
Yeah.
Kentucky has gotten people. But BYU, you know, there's a certain point guard out there that needs a landing spot,
Who's
and
that?
that's EJ Haggerty.
Well, to me too, like I think they're in the same realm regardless. Like BYU's not spending $20 million on a roster. So it's a good sign for Kentucky that they're up there. Can I say the elephant in the room now?
What's that?
I think I'm going to piss off a lot of Kentucky fans with what I'm about to say. They didn't get $12 million worth of good players if this is the final roster. We interrupt this sleepers video to tell you about an offer from Underdog Fantasy. Cart, you love Underdog Fantasy, correct?
Of course I do. Can I have a moment real quick?
Please. Thank you for that. In fact, I'm going to cut you off because our listeners like when we keep these short and sweet. Underdog Fantasy. Sign up as a new user. Use promo code SLEEPERS. Get bonus funds up to $1,000, 50% of your deposit match. The NBA playoffs are rocking right now. I played Underdog last week with a Cade Cunningham line. I'm looking forward to doing it throughout the entire first round of the NBA playoffs, but there's more. You can place picks on golf. You can place picks on baseball. You can place picks on the NHL playoffs that are rocking right now. Join Underdog Fantasy, promo code SLEEPERS. Support this show so that we can keep bringing videos to you. Back to the video. I'm going to just call it what it is, and we have another video specifically on Aberdeen. I listened to yesterday. We had you and Ralph do the Denzel Aberdeen reaction video. For the most part, I thought you guys liked the move. Is that fair to say? Like pretty fair summary?
It was, I think it was Riley Ralph that did it actually.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. My bad. I'm getting my numbers mixed up here. So I can tell you right now, if Cart and I had done this video, the general theme of it would have been this is an insane overpay. $2 million for a guy that averaged 7 points a game that was already going to be a stretch to be a starter at Florida next year is baffling to me that that's what Mark Pope wanted to fill the final spot. Like if this is the final ad, I would have waited out a bunch of other guys. You were in the Stojakovic conversation. You've got some legitimate star types to me that are just better players than Florida's eighth guy last year. Now, again, Mark Pope is going to maximize everyone on his roster. I have no doubt on that. But if you're telling me this roster that is largely full of role players is worth $12 million, I'm just really confused. I mean, Jaden Quaintance is a guy I love. I believe in the upside of. He's coming off an injury where he might miss 2 months of the season, and he averaged 9 points a game last year. Mo Diabate did not start at Alabama, was probably their eighth best player, scored 7 points a game last year. Cam Williams, Tulane, 9 points a game last year. Denzel Aberdeen, 7 points off the bench. That's your whole portal class. And then you got Jalon Lowe, who I think is really good. It's my favorite ad in the class. You add it together, it's deep. You're going to have a really deep, awesome, steady roster again. Nothing about the names that you got in the portal, except for maybe Jalon Lowe, screams any of these guys are worth $2 to $3 million. So I say it all the time. Overpaying is good. If you're a program that's overpaying, paying more than people deserve, you're in a great spot. But I also think that is what happened here. Like if we get to the end of the line and we line up every roster in the sport and we say Kentucky's roster spent the most money, I'll be stunned because it's not the best roster in college basketball for next year. It's probably not a top 5 roster in college basketball last year. It's probably top 10 because Otega always really good and you probably had to spend to keep him. But outside of that, man, I'm just like Aberdeen for 2 million is a wild number. I don't know how much they spent on Diabate, but if you're trying, how do you get to 12 million? You must have spent millions on these guys.
Well, I think if you're factoring Owe in, I think Owe is a $4 or $5 million guy based upon like there's a real world possibility he's turning down NBA money to come back, right? So like
Sure.
I think Owe factors into that. I said this after the commitment. You lose a Caden, I think you're kind of running the risk of losing Jasper to tamper with Denzel Aberdeen. I don't know how I feel about that. I love a Caden. I love Jasper. I hope Jasper stays. I believe Jasper will stay. I don't think this affects Jasper, but Jasper has clear intentions to be a one and done. He's going to come off the bench now. Like there's no doubt about it. And he's coming off the bench to Jalon Lowe, Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe, one of the threes an NBA guy. Like I think there is some like ego aspect of this where Jasper is sitting around like my intentions to be a one and done. I'm coming off the bench to guys that are not on draft boards at the moment. And I hope that isn't the case. And I same with the Caden. I hope he stays at Kentucky, but I do think that is something to monitor where it's like, is this what Jasper Johnson still wants? And to be fair to Kentucky, if Mark Pope is saying my backcourt is Jalon Lowe, Otega Owe, Denzel Aberdeen, if Jasper Johnson chooses to leave, I don't know if they're going to lose too much sleep over that. I think Colin Chandler, Trent Perry, et cetera, like are fine backups. I still think they're an incredibly deep team. But this team, in my honest opinion, I had an issue with this team when Otega Owe was the guy last year. I thought Otega Owe is a great second or third option on a championship team. But when he's like your main option, I still think that's an issue. Jalon Lowe's really good. I don't know if he makes me think Otega's still not like gonna need to score 15 to 20 points. And if I'm Otega Owe, I want to play in a system where I'm a 3 and D guy. My goal is to get to the NBA. Let me showcase to NBA teams what I can do. And I feel like his draft stock plummeted, to be completely honest, plummeted when we got into the middle of January and everybody got hurt and he had to step into the role as like, I'm the main ball handler, I'm the main scorer, et cetera. And he went from a guy that was on NBA draft boards to he's going through the process right now, but like he'll be back.
See, I think Otega's a stud, and you paid him. I'm probably higher on him as a first option than you. Like, I think he could be an All-American. But even, I guess the point for me is just this: like, compare it. We keep going back to BYU because that was the comp, right? We think Kentucky's spent more than BYU even. There isn't a Rob Wright in this class to me, unless you. I guess Jalon Lowe falls in the Rob Wright category of like an upside guy. Like maybe you spent $3 million on Jalon Lowe because that's what Rob Wright costs to me. Rob Wright has 3 more years of presumably a big time breakout coming. He's a huge assist rate guy and an efficient scorer. Like, and that's not even Debanza, right? There's like levels to sort of star power of what you're going to spend a lot of money on. If I'm trying to like add this up, how do you get to 12 mil? Owe for 4 mil, 3 mil, 3 or 4 mil. Jelon Lowe probably 2 to 3 mil. I think Aberdeen, you probably had to pay Jasper Johnson to keep him happy. Probably combined for 3 to 4 mil. And then everybody else is like around 1 mil or maybe less would be my hope. But I just, as we're going through all those numbers, they all feel like maybe we overpaid a little bit here. You know what I mean? And again, this comes from a guy. I have Kentucky in my top 10, probably closer to top 5 for next season because I believe in Mark Pope's coaching ability. But strictly, like, what are we spending here? I'm a little stunned at the Aberdeen number, and I'm stunned that in the end, this complete Kentucky roster is like, they spent more money than everyone. I would have expected a little more star power here, I think. Not that they needed to win, but last year you didn't spend the most money in the sport when you got the non-star power guys. This year you're telling me you did? I'm like, wait a second. For Jaden Quaintance, who won't play till December? Is that what we spent on?
He's the one I think got $4 or $5 million.
You think
I don't
so?
think I don't think they're factoring Owe into the 12 yet. I think Quaden's got 4 or 5 though, because the way I view Quaden's is I'm probably saying his name wrong, but he could literally not play next year. That dude's a top 5 to 10 pick in the NBA draft, just based off his ability to switch and guard 1 through 5 while playing the center position, protect the rim. He's more of a power forward, but I think he's going to play center in the league. Um, and I think he's a top 5 to 10 pick just based off what he does on the defensive floor alone. Like he's going to step into the NBA and be one of the best defenders in the league at his position. And he probably could have went to USC, got 3 or 4 million from Musselman, half-assed the whole year, and that doesn't change anything. So I think for him to choose Kentucky, you probably had to pony up a pretty penny to get him.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true. I feel like at some point the sport's going to get to a point where we like line item invoice every player and it's all publicly available. I'm very excited for that day because I would love to know. I would have you give me this roster, I look at it, I would have said this is an $8 to $9 million roster. Still big, but I want to know what the math is to get to 12 here. And it's probably just a couple guys got an Aberdeen like deal. A couple guys that I don't think are worth 2 million got $2 million. And again, it's a great thing if your program is spending more than they should on players. It means you're the big bad wolf. Kentucky is the big bad wolf right now. Mark Pope is running this exactly how he should be, and they're going to be really, really good. I wanted that little editor's note on this one. How exactly did we get to 12 million here? But I'm willing to see it out and see how good this team is.